What exactly is Elio's plan? And what is his plan with us, the main MC, the Trailblaze, before our memories got wiped? Who exactly are we to Destiny's slave? And how do we connect with the Finality? Because when I actually look at the Stellaron hunters and their endgame, it seems fairly obvious to me, especially now, after what was long speculated now revealed to be true, that the Stellaron hunters and Elio follow the path of Finality, one of the most mysterious Aeons in the entire game, and ironically one of the two Aeons we don't even know what it looks like, that and the Trailblaze Aeon Akavili. And with 2.3 dropped, it's confirmed now that even though Elio has his scripts and can predict the future to an extent, his foresight seems to be more of a vague picture that he gets from the future and not a direct play-by-play of what's going to happen. Elio can see events happen, but doesn't know exactly how they play out. So it is not set in stone what exactly will occur. He told Firefly she would die 3 times in Penacony, but clearly his foresight has some limitations. He did not know exactly how she would die. He can just see glimpses of what will happen, but the circumstances that it plays out can vary, clearly, which gives the Stellaron hunters or anyone involved with Elio's scripts some leeway on how exactly it'll play out. But in the game's current story, we almost know next to nothing about Elio. The only thing we know is that he handed the Trailblazer over to Kafka after seeing some future possibilities. And at present time, he predicts that the Trailblaze will have to face Nanook, the Aeon of Destruction. So I think if you take the magnifying glass and look outwards, it's easy to see that Elio clearly saw the destruction of the universe. He saw what Nanook will accomplish. If he is either the Aeon of Finality, Terminus the Finality, or is an emanator or linked to this Aeon in some way, which we now know is confirmed, he must have saw a future that was very grim, now gaining the title of Destiny's slave. And I think it's fairly easy to assume that the Trailblazer is not just some random person to Elio. They must have a pretty deep and close connection. And Elio handed the Trailblazer to Kafka, had a Stellaron embedded in their body, and we had our memories wiped. But why is that? Why would our memories be wiped? Well, it's honestly hard to say exactly. We don't really know our relationship with the Stellaron hunters, other than that we were most likely one at one point. We were probably the first Stellaron hunter, even before Kafka or Sam. For all we know, our main MC could have recruited Elio. We don't know how they're both linked to Finality, or how we are linked to the Trailblaze. Like I said, these are the only 2 Aeons we have not seen yet, or know what they look like. Well, except for the Aeon of Beauty, who I wonder who that could potentially be. But Elio obviously trusts us enough to have our memories wiped, but still play the role of his script that he saw to help prevent the destruction of the universe from the Aeon, Nanook. That is the entire purpose of Honkai Star Rail. Why we have a Stellaron in our body, why we had our memories wiped, and why we're doing what we're doing. Actually, Kafka being recruited second in order to fulfill this plan makes perfect sense, seeing as that she has abilities of memory wiping and memory altering. And the Stellaron hunters are always pretty warm to the Trailblazer. They're never hostile towards us, like we're an old comrade that's had our memories altered. For all we know, this could be our plan. For whatever reason, Elio has foresaw the coming conflict with destruction, and kind of like Doctor Strange in Infinity War and Endgame, maybe this is the only scenario, the only timeline, where we succeed in preventing the total destruction of the universe. The Genius Society already stated that it's weird that Terminus the Finality and Nanook the Destruction exist at the same time, but I think it's hard to kill or erase an Aeon that can move through time. If Elio is this Aeon or an emanator of the Finality, he might have seen the end of the universe and possibly the beginning. It is quite limitless what he has saw or experienced. But like I stated in 2.3, I think that his scripts are at least limited to a degree. I think he can see what will happen, but maybe not the exact circumstances it'll play out. Like how Sparkle was sorta able to cheat Firefly's third death to make it fireworks in a special moment for her and the main MC. And I know a question you might have is, hey, well, if we are a famous Stellaron hunter in one of the originals, maybe we are the first Stellaron hunter, wouldn't people know us? Wouldn't we be wanted by the IPC? Well, that's just it. Elio is said to be in the form of a cat right now, but we don't actually know his true form, if he even has a true form. And the body that we're currently in wasn't our original form. Remember, we had to select between male and female when we started the game. This was a body created for us, with our memories wiped, to inherit a Stellaron and go join the Astral Express. This is part of the script and part of the plan. So no, nobody would recognize this body and who we are now. Hell, we don't even remember our old identity. Just that Elio gave us to Kafka. But there is no way that Destiny's Slave would entrust a complete random to give to Kafka to inherit a Stellaron, the same group that hunts Stellarons. We have a close connection with Elio, and to take this one step further, are we connected on a deep level to the Aeon of the Trailblaze Akavili? Has the Finality and the Trailblaze been trying to work together, the two Aeons we don't even know what they look like, to prevent the total destruction of the universe? There are so many possibilities and ways they could go about this. Then you actually gotta talk about the Stellarons themselves, the things that these guys hunt. Mysterious objects that spread across the universe like a cancerous growth, which lead them to be nicknamed the Cancer of Worlds. They are considered seeds of disaster which cause massive changes to civilization and ecosystems. And these disasters and changes come in many forms. They're a type of life form, with a special property that tethers them to a certain path or Aeon's power. They respond to the desires of the world at which they're tethered to. However, the cost of fulfilling these desires often brings great disaster to the world, and as of right now there's no known way to destroy a Stellaron, just contain its energy, which is exactly what we are doing right now in our body. And we're collecting different paths like Infinity Stones. We have connected with destruction, preservation, now harmony. Clearly this is part of ours and Elio's joint plan, to collect all these paths using a Stellaron within our body. Maybe that is our desire that the Stellaron is fulfilling, and the other Stellaron hunters are always on every planet we visit with the Stellaron to make sure we succeed in what we're doing. We connect with that path, solve that planet's crisis, deal with the Stellaron problem, and the Trailblazer gets a new path to follow. Perhaps in Elio's scripts, the only way for this to truly succeed is if our memories were wiped. Maybe we needed to be clean slated in order to truly genuinely want to help join the Trailblaze and gain each path. Perhaps knowing our plan means that it would fail. You have to be ignorant to it for it to succeed, and that is why our memories were wiped and we had a Stellaron placed within our body in the very first cutscenes of the game. And maybe, just maybe, having a Stellaron, collecting all the other Stellarons, and gaining the path of each Aeon is the only way to prevent total destruction of the universe. And when you actually look up what finality means, it's essentially the irreversible ending, an action or event that ends something irreversibly, which would sort of imply that maybe the destruction of the universe is inevitable, maybe it can't be changed. But, much like with Firefly's 3 deaths, maybe they can be manipulated in a way that benefits the universe. Maybe you can cheat the system, cheat the finality. So these prophecies, so that Terminus the Finality, who can travel through time, and their prophecies destined to be fulfilled, if it is inevitable. Perhaps, like we saw with Firefly in Penacony, perhaps this whole orchestrated plan is to find a way to manipulate that prophecy, change fate, and change the outcome to a degree, which kind of makes Firefly's entire story arc a little bit of like a mini foreshadow of the great picture here in Honkai Star Rail. But that is just my 2 cents. That's all I can really say, because whether we're just another Emanator or Pathstrider of Finality, maybe we are the Trailblaze Aeon reincarnated or taken on a different form, because that Aeon's been missing. It's really hard to say exactly how we connect to Elio, if we were a Stellaron hunter in our past life, which seems more than likely, and if we'll ultimately prevent the destruction that Elio foresaw and our conflict with Nanook. Now that we discussed most of the things we know for sure and the more probable things, let's actually come up with some crack theories here, and I'm excited to hear what you guys have to come up with as well. But here's a couple of mine. We know the Trailblaze Aeon is the Aeon that travels to the unknown, explores the universe. But what if the universe isn't the only thing it can explore? What if the Trailblaze Aeon is the only entity that can travel a new destiny, a new fate and timeline, set a course for a future that's not destroyed and the universe comes to an end? And much like the Trailblazers and the Stellaron Hunters, who both represent Finality and the Trailblaze usually sort of working together, what if that's why these two Aeons have not been seen? And just sort of went missing, or we don't know where they are. Whether our main MC and Elio are emanators of these two Aeons, or the Aeons reincarnated or taking on different forms, wouldn't that be kinda neat? And another possible cracked theory is, what if Elio and the Stellaron Hunters are using us, the main MC, to create an Aeon by using a Stellaron and gaining paths of each Aeon? What if this is all part of the process foresaw by Elio to create an Aeon? A new Aeon, and the only way to prevent the destruction of the universe is to create a new Aeon. And this is how we do it, and this is our story, and how we rise into Aeonhood, and be the Aeon who saves the universe from destruction. I wanted to think that maybe Terminus the Finality and the Stellaron Hunters are maybe creating the Finality, like an Aeon that travels backwards through time to help orchestrate its own ascension into Aeonhood would be a cool story too. That one seems less likely, and I'll acknowledge that there is a Finality in Honkai Impact 3rd as well. Although I think that's the least likely of all scenarios, there is something called the Cocoon of Finality that connects to the imaginary tree in the Honkai universe, and because we know that Welt actually jumped over from Honkai Impact 3rd directly into this world or universe of Honkai Star Rail, it's not impossible. There's so many different possibilities when talking about Finality. That is the whole point of Finality, is that no matter which route they decide to go with the story, it's going to be absolutely crazy. It always is when you're dealing with time travel. But again, those are just some of my fun theories. I'm looking forward to reading some of yours in the comments, because this is a very open-ended theory, and it will be for some time, because Honkai Star Rail still has a lot of story and life left in the game. And even though the story is starting to ramp up now and we're getting more details, like their connection with Finality, there's still so many unanswered questions. I do have a video too, and I want to talk about how the IPC is a direct opposite contrast to destruction. They want to conquer the universe, while Nanook wants to destroy it. I do want to talk about that in another video, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. How exactly do you think we as the main character connect with the Stellaron Hunters? How do you think this all plays out? And how is the Trailblaze Aeon connected with all of this as well? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.